Perez.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on Across the Fence. I'm Keith Silva. Last month, we learned one of the members of our Across the Fence family had become an American citizen. As it turns out, while resident chef Marco Ayala was whipping up tasty treats and delicious desserts, he was also filling out forms and studying for his U.S. citizenship test. Marco joins me in the studio. Welcome. It's been a long time since we've been hanging out here, so it's good to see you.
It is great to see you, Keith. Yes, it's been quite a while since I have been to the studio here at WCX.
Yes, we were talking with the staff about that, and it has been a minute. You record all your segments at your home in Plattsburgh now. Do you miss coming in here? Is it different?
I do. It's always great to see people, and not only that, I always get like good feedback because, as you remember, at the end of the show, all the staff will come out. We'll have food, share stories, and they will tell me like, "Oh, this is good. Maybe this needs a little less of this. Maybe there's a little more of that." So it was always a great test kitchen.
Immediate feedback is always a good thing. And towards the end of the program, you did bring in dessert, so we'll have something to try towards the end of the program. Is it easier recording at home in some ways?
It is and it isn't, because I'm a one-man band over there, so I do my own lighting, my own camera work, and everything. And it's also nice to interact with people, to see the people here at CX that let us get across the fence on the air.
Right, and animal wrangling. You have to do that as part of your.
Yes,
you did not have to do that here.
Yes.
There were no animals running around here. So moving from your past to the present, when did you decide to become an American citizen?
So I moved to the U.S. about 20 years ago, and I became a green card holder or permanent resident about 5-6 years in. Because this became home, and that was like the main reason why I wanted to become naturalized. Because as much as I do still love Mexico and my family lives there, but this is home. This is where I've lived for 20 years, and it's nice to be able to vote now and to have the same rights and responsibilities. Because in the end, it's also a big responsibility to be an American.
You've lived longer in the U.S. than you did in Mexico? I don't want to age you, Marco.
I will say so, yes.
Still a young 21.
Sure.
We were just saying your family still lives in Mexico. How often do you get back to visit?
I used to try to go every year. It's been a couple years now, but yeah, I'm actually planning that as soon as I get my passport, then get a trip to Mexico to see the family.
Excellent. As you know, as everyone knows, immigration is in the news and on the minds of many Americans. Help us with the process from start to finish. How long did this take?
So when you think of the process as a whole, it took me about, I will say, over 10 years. Because first you have to become a permanent resident or green card holder.
That's the green card, yep.
Right, and that process was very long. It's very expensive as well. And once that happens, you have to go through what I will say is kind of like a probational period. And then if you're eligible, because there is a certain criteria, then you can become naturalized. In my case, I was eligible about like 3-4 years ago, but it just didn't register. And it was until I, hit the 20th year that I said like, well, it's home. I have family here. I'm married now. So it's time to take the plunge, I guess, and apply for it.
And once you started to turn in that paperwork, you said that process was much shorter. That was a couple of months, half a year?
So when I first applied, they told me that it was going to be about 8 months until they reviewed my case.
Okay.
It ended up being less time because as part of the things that I've done, I work for an airport. So they do an extensive background check on you.
Sure.
So that helped a lot. So in my specific case, because I think that this is really depending on the person, it took about 6 months.
Okay.
Altogether.
Okay. And you said a moment ago how expensive it was. Was the process, the naturalization process, there's a cost associated with that? Do you need a lawyer for that, or?
I think this really depends on your specific circumstances.
Okay.
In my case, I didn't need a lawyer this time. I could read and understand all the implications. So I did not need to hire a lawyer. But there is a cost associated with filing the forms.
Right.
And technically, you're paying for filing the forms regardless of the decision that they make in the end.
Right.
So you could be denied, but you still have to pay for the process.
Wow. What has your family in Mexico thought about this, about you becoming a U.S. citizen?
I think they were happy because they understand the fact that I live here, and this is where my spouse is, and I have family, and I have my chosen family. So it's been a while. It's been like 20 years. So they kind of know that I'm not necessarily planning on going back.
We've got some video of the actual day of the ceremony. Take us through this. What happens at this ceremony?
So it's a judge is the one that's kind of like gives you you take the oath from. So the thing that struck me the most is first the court clerk came over and she said, "This is a joyous occasion. This is one of the few instances where you're facing a judge and you're not going to jail at the end." So it was very nice. I gotta say that they did a great job there. It was at the high school, so they invited the high school students to come up, correct, to presence the swearing in, which I think is really interesting. Not only that, the judge also had some very nice remarks, and then there was 2 groups of students that did some singing, like the American
national anthem.
Correct. So it was very nice. It was very moving.
You were telling me that before we started recording that the citizenship test, that you were well prepared. We should let all our viewers know Marco was good to go. He was ready to go. And you said the test was you were more prepared. You were over prepared for the test.
Correct. So you have 2 options. You can either like get the book and attend the classes, but the closest class I think was like in Albany. So I'm like, I'm not about to like drive that far for this.
Right.
So I just decided to start, studying on my own. And sure enough, part of the process is that you have to have at least 6 out of 10 questions correctly. And by the time I got to the 5th question, I think that my interviewer knew that I had been studying.
And you said you were told there was a written part of it, and you were prepared to write an essay. You did not have to write an essay, however.
Right. It was like more basic reading.
Okay.
I think that they just really want to make sure that you're making an effort.
Gotcha.
And I think that in my case, I'm fairly proficient in English and Spanish, so they did notice that. So it didn't have to be like a long test.
Right.
So yeah, I was a little over prepared. I gave myself like the idea that I needed like a couple hours, and it was done in 30 to 45 minutes.
And it's American history and civics, and we were saying before that you probably know American history better than most Americans at this point.
I think that at least for now, I do.
Yes, at least for now. So you said that there were classes in Albany, so it's not like this group of people that you were with on stage that you were, going through this 8-month process with them sort of side by side, that you just sort of met them there.
Right.
And you said mostly Canadians in your ceremony?
Yes, in my particular ceremony, there were like mostly Canadians. There were a couple people from Senegal. I was the only one from Mexico.
Okay.
Someone from Greece.
Okay.
So yeah, it's you don't meet you meet them there.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that we all have different stories,
Yes.
different circumstances,
Yes.
but in the end we're all striving for the same thing.
Right. It's a very emotional moment. Could you feel it in the room? Did you feel emotional? Not you personally, but could you feel something in the room? Was there an energy?
Yes, because like I said, the court clerk said, like, this is a joyous occasion,
Sure.
and you could tell the people in the audience were happy. I had some friends there. Everyone that was there had their family and friends, and it was very interesting in the sense that I ran into people that I knew that were not necessarily there for me, but
Sure.
they also had another friend on stage who was getting their naturalization. So it really comes to show how we're all connected in the end. We're a smaller community, and we all know someone who's either a permanent resident, a green card holder, or an immigrant in itself.
Right, right. Well, it's a small world. It's
Correct.
smaller than we think. And we've got some pictures that from the day. So here you are up on stage, and so is this the is it the Pledge of Allegiance?
The Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh,
yes.
okay. So you read the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have to have that memorized?
No, they were very nice to give us
Okay,
papers
give you
because
paper.
I had already memorized quite a bit of history.
Okay, so this image here is when you walk from where you were with your fellow soon-to-be new Americans across the stage. They show the flag of your native country, and then when
Correct.
you walk back, you get a little flag. We can see you holding a flag in the
Yes.
hand, and we see the flag of the United States.
Yeah, they transitioned it to an American flag that I think is actually a really great idea because
Yeah.
it really represents what you're doing. Like it represents where you're coming from and where you're going.
Right. Marco, we're almost out of time, and I promised dessert, and I will deliver on dessert at the end of our program. You have made something. It wouldn't be an appearance from you without having something to bring in. So what do you have for us, Marco?
So I have here
gonna
some
tilt this up a little
oatmeal
bit.
cookies.
Yeah.
And I think that,
Whoa, whoa.
there they go.
There they go.
So you know what, I'm gonna hold a couple up
Okay.
so we can see them on camera.
Excellent.
And see, I decorated them with icing, and the idea here is that in the end, I think that it's an analogy. We're all like oatmeal cookies. It doesn't matter what kind of frosting or what the frosting says.
Okay.
We all have great ingredients inside.
Excellent. Excellent. Very, very well said. Metaphorical cookies, the best kind of cookies that you could have. Well, Marco, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have you in. It's always great to see you and to hear about this experience for you. Welcome to America.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'll see you in the kitchen.
We will see you in the kitchen. That's our program today. My thanks as always to our patriotic crew behind the scenes here at WCAX. I'm Keith Silva. This is Across the Fence. Have a good one.